Welcome back to Stamps Old World UK, the ultimate destination for stamp collectors, philatelists, and history lovers around the globe. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of stamp collecting with a special focus on the current market value of vintage stamps in today's dollar value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just stumbled upon an old box of stamps in your attic, this video will provide you with valuable insights into what these little pieces of paper could actually be worth in today's market. So get comfortable and join us as we explore the financial and historical significance behind one of the most beloved hobbies of all time, stamp collecting. In today's episode, we begin with a remarkable example, the 1/1/2D New Zealand stamp featuring Queen Elizabeth II. This orange-toned stamp is part of the definitive series that was issued during the early reign of Her Majesty, a time when countries across the British Commonwealth proudly featured her portrait. While it may appear modest at first glance, stamps like this can hold surprising value depending on their condition, rarity, print run, and historical context. The version you see here is a used stamp, which typically fetches a lower price compared to mint-condition versions. However, even used versions can be highly sought after by collectors, especially if they are part of a complete series or have distinct postmarks. So, what is the current value of such a stamp in today's market, converted into US dollars? As of 2024 and now in 2025, the value of a single Queen Elizabeth II 1/1/2D New Zealand stamp ranges from about $50 to $300 in used condition. However, in mint condition, meaning the stamp is in used and retains its original gum, the price can rise significantly, reaching between $5 to $150 depending on the demand and the condition of the stamp. Collectors are particularly drawn to well-centered stamps with clear perforations and vibrant color. If you happen to have a block of 4 or a full sheet in mint condition, you might be looking at a value of up to $50 or more depending on the market. Now let's talk about what makes a stamp valuable in the eyes of collectors and investors. There are several factors that come into play. First and foremost is rarity. If a stamp was printed in limited quantities or had a short period of circulation, it tends to be more valuable. Second is condition. Stamps are graded on the quality of their centering, the integrity of their perforations, and the brightness of their color. A mint-condition stamp is always worth more than one that has been heavily cancelled or torn. Third is historical significance. Stamps that represent a key moment in history, such as a coronation, royal visit, or independence movement, often fetch a premium at auctions and private sales. But there's more to stamp collecting than just numbers. Each stamp tells a story. The 1/1/2D Queen Elizabeth II stamp, for instance, represents a post-war New Zealand re-establishing its place in the global Commonwealth under the young Queen's reign. It's more than a piece of paper, it's a miniature work of art, a time capsule of design, politics, and global relations from the mid-20th century. Collectors often value stamps not only for what they are worth in monetary terms, but for the narratives they carry and the sense of connection they provide to different eras and countries. If you're considering selling a vintage stamp, there are several avenues to explore. Online platforms such as eBay, Delcamp, and Hipstamp offer accessible marketplaces, but it's crucial to do your research before listing your items. Describing your stamp accurately and including high-resolution photos can make a big difference in attracting serious buyers. If you believe you have a particularly rare or high-value stamp, consider having it appraised by a professional philatelist or submitting it to a stamp grading service for certification. Graded stamps can command higher prices and are often more attractive to serious investors. Let's now look at a few other examples of stamps that have appreciated significantly in value. For instance, early issues from the United Kingdom like the penny black or penny red, or classic colonial issues from British Commonwealth countries such as Canada, Australia, and India, have shown steady increases in value over the years. In fact, many collectors have turned to vintage stamps as a tangible investment, much like coins, gold, or antique art. With inflation and economic instability, physical collectibles like rare stamps offer a hedge and a unique way to preserve wealth while enjoying a beautiful and intellectually rewarding hobby. In today's globalized stamp market, demand is not limited to traditional collectors in the UK or the United States. There is growing interest in philately from emerging markets like China, India, and the Middle East. These new collectors are not only increasing demand for classic Western stamps but are also fueling the value of regional and thematic collections. Stamps featuring royalty, classic architecture, birds, sports, and historical milestones have become particularly popular themes. So, if you're sitting on a collection of old stamps and wondering whether they're worth anything, now is the time to find out. Take the time to catalog what you have, note the condition of each piece, and consider joining online stamp forums or local philatelic societies. You'd be surprised how much you can learn from fellow enthusiasts, and in some cases, you might even discover a hidden gem worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. To wrap up, the world of vintage stamps continues to be a treasure trove of value, not just in financial terms but in the rich history and culture it represents. Whether you own a simple 1/2D Queen Elizabeth II New Zealand stamp or an entire album of classic British Empire issues, your collection may be more valuable than you think. And here at Stamps Old World UK, we're dedicated to helping you uncover those hidden stories and potential fortunes one stamp at a time. Next up, the halfpenny New Zealand stamp featuring Queen Elizabeth II. Printed in a rich reddish-brown tone, this stamp may seem small and humble, but as you'll discover, it represents much more than just a postage fee. It's a snapshot of a time when the British Commonwealth was evolving under the reign of a young monarch, and it holds a special place in many philatelic collections. Whether you've just discovered this stamp in a family album or are considering its worth in the collector's market, this video will provide you with everything you need to know, including its potential value in today's dollars. The 1/2D Queen Elizabeth II New Zealand stamp was issued in the 1950s as part of a broader definitive series release to celebrate the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II. During this era, many countries in the Commonwealth released their own versions of postage stamps featuring the young Queen's portrait, symbolizing both loyalty to the crown and a new era of optimism and modernity. The portrait used on this particular issue was based on the famous Dorothy Wilding photograph, a poised and regal image that became the face of the Queen on currency, stamps, and official documents worldwide. The halfpenny value was primarily used for local printed matter, such as newspapers and bulk mailings, which explains why many of these stamps were widely circulated. Yet despite their widespread use, finding them today in excellent condition, especially mint and well-centered, can be surprisingly rare and desirable to collectors. Now let's turn our attention to the key question: what is the market value of this stamp today in US dollars? In used condition, where the stamp shows light to moderate cancellation marks, this halfpenny Queen Elizabeth II New Zealand stamp typically sells for about 20 cents to $1.50 USD. The exact price depends on the clarity of the postmark, the vibrancy of the color, and the overall condition of the paper and perforations. However, if you are fortunate enough to own a mint condition version, one that has never been used, retains full gum on the back, and is free from bends or tears, then the value can jump significantly, ranging from $3 to $8 US, and in some cases, even more depending on rarity and demand. A corner block of 4 or a full mint sheet can fetch as high as $30 to $50 US from dedicated collectors who are looking to complete a full Queen Elizabeth II New Zealand series. But what exactly makes this simple-looking stamp so attractive to collectors? For one, the Queen Elizabeth II issues from New Zealand are iconic. They reflect a unique combination of Commonwealth history, royal portraiture, and classic typography. The reddish-brown 1/2D stamp stands out within the series for its rich tone and lower postal value, making it one of the more commonly used stamps of the time. As such, finding high-grade specimens today is more challenging than one might assume. Over the years, many of these stamps have faded, torn, or were discarded, especially the ones used on mail, leaving a much smaller population of well-preserved examples for today's collectors. That scarcity in good condition is what helps drive their current value. Stamp collectors who focus on British royal family memorabilia or Commonwealth nations' definitive issues often seek out full sets of Queen Elizabeth II stamps from countries like New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and Fiji. Having the 1/2D version in mint condition is essential for anyone looking to build a complete New Zealand royal collection. These collectors often place added value on stamps that are unhinged, have wide margins, and show no signs of toning or gum disturbance. The presence of plate numbers or marginal markings from corner blocks can also increase the desirability and final sale price of a stamp in the collector's market. If you're wondering how best to sell or value your stamp, there are a few tips worth keeping in mind. First, take high-resolution photos of both the front and back of your stamp. Any bends, tears, or discoloration will affect its value, so it's important to be honest in your listing if you plan to sell online. Websites like eBay, HipStamp, and Delcamp are popular marketplaces for buying and selling stamps and attract both beginner and seasoned collectors. If you suspect your stamp might be part of a rare print run or includes a printing error, it may be worth getting a professional appraisal or submitting it to a recognized philatelic society for evaluation. Certification can increase a stamp's credibility and price significantly. As the world of stamp collecting continues to evolve, physical collectibles like these are gaining renewed interest from younger collectors and investors alike. With Queen Elizabeth II's recent passing and the transition into a new royal era, early issues bearing her image have become even more desirable and historic. The halfpenny Queen Elizabeth II stamp from New Zealand is a tangible reminder of a moment in time, a symbol of the Commonwealth's unity and tradition, and for many, it's a precious keepsake as well as a growing investment. Next up, the 2D New Zealand stamp featuring a young Queen Elizabeth II, printed in a striking shade of green. This stamp may look simple at first glance, but it holds a wealth of history and, depending on a few key details, can carry surprising value in the collector's market today. Let's dive into its background, market trends, and what it might be worth in US dollars right now. The 2D Queen Elizabeth II stamp from New Zealand was part of a definitive series issued during the early years of Her Majesty's reign. It was produced in the 1950s, a period of great transition and rebuilding in the post-war Commonwealth. The image on the stamp is based on the Dorothy Wilding portrait, a regal and dignified representation of the young queen that was used widely in official and postal imagery across Commonwealth nations. This particular 2D green issue was used primarily for regular domestic mail within New Zealand, meaning millions were printed and circulated. But while that might make it sound like a common stamp, rarity alone is not the only factor in determining value. The stamp's current condition, color brightness, gum quality, centering, and even the type of cancellation mark can all play significant roles in what collectors are willing to pay for it. So, let's talk about the actual dollar value of this stamp in today's market. A used example of the 2D Queen Elizabeth II green New Zealand stamp typically sells for around 30 cents to $2 USD depending on condition. Stamps with light, clean postmarks tend to sell better than those with heavy ink smudges. On the other hand, if you happen to have a mint condition version, especially one with pristine perforations, deep green coloring, and intact original gum, then you're looking at a value in the range of $5 to $12 US or more. Collectors looking to complete entire series often pay a premium for well-preserved pieces like this, especially if they are part of a display-worthy set or collection. In recent years, the interest in stamps featuring Queen Elizabeth II has seen a noticeable uptick. With the end of her reign and the global reflection on her legacy, philatelists worldwide are revisiting collections from her early years. Stamps like the 2D green issue from New Zealand are now viewed as historical artifacts, snapshots of a time when the British Empire was shifting toward a new era under her young leadership. This nostalgia, combined with increased global demand from countries like Australia, Canada, India, and even parts of Asia and Europe, has given these once humble stamps a second life in the collector's market. But how can you tell if your stamp is particularly valuable? Start by examining the details. Is it mint or used? Mint stamps always hold more value, but even used ones can attract strong interest if they have a rare cancellation mark or if the postmark indicates a historically significant date or location. Next, check the centering. A well-centered stamp is far more desirable than one where the design is shifted too far left or right. Also, inspect the perforations. A full, clean perforation around the stamp's edges increases desirability and value. Finally, examine the color. A deep green tone with no fading is a good sign that the stamp has been well preserved and may command a higher price. Collectors who specialize in Commonwealth or royal family-themed collections are especially interested in stamps like this. Queen Elizabeth II is one of the most featured individuals in philatelic history, appearing on stamps from over 100 nations throughout her reign. Many collectors aim to build complete chronological collections or specific national series, making early examples from countries like New Zealand, Australia, and Canada particularly sought after. A full series from the 1950s and 1960s featuring Queen Elizabeth II in mint condition can fetch hundreds of dollars when sold as a set, particularly if displayed attractively or accompanied by a certificate of authenticity. If you're considering selling your stamp, you have several options. Online marketplaces like eBay, Delcamp, and Hipstamp allow collectors to reach a global audience, but it's important to list your stamps with accurate descriptions and high-quality photos. Be honest about the condition and note whether the stamp is mint, used, hinged, or unhinged. For more serious stamps or larger collections, consider having your stamps appraised by a professional or submitting them to a philatelic auction house. Auction houses such as Spink, Cherry Stone, and Daniel F. Kelleher are renowned in the stamp community and can help you get top dollar for rare and valuable pieces. Stamp collecting continues to thrive as both a hobby and an investment. With physical collectibles gaining popularity in recent years, many people are returning to philately as a way to preserve history, connect with culture, and even build value over time. The beauty of stamp collecting lies not just in the monetary value but also in the sense of discovery and learning that each stamp brings. The 2D Queen Elizabeth II green New Zealand stamp is more than a simple postage issue. It's a symbol of an era, a link to a royal legacy, and for some collectors, a valuable piece in a much larger puzzle.